Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Nice to see you all out here tonight. We're here on Independence Day weekend, and I have a question for all of you. What's the greatest thing about this country?
Freedom.
Yeah, let me hear you again, louder. What's the greatest thing about this country?
Freedom.
Freedom! So, I want to see a show of hands. Who here has read the Declaration of Independence? Wow, that's really impressive. Most of you have, and that's amazing. So, there's a part in the Declaration of Independence, well, like the whole thing, it's pretty important, but yeah, over a couple hundred years ago, we had some people write this document on hemp, which is now illegal, and basically this was to protect our natural rights. And in the Declaration of Independence, they speak about those natural inherent rights given to us by God or the Creator. Basically, there are certain things that we can do that we should have the right to do no matter what, which is take any action that doesn't cause harm to another sentient being. So other than that, all is free. And that's a really important document that was designed to protect our freedoms. And today, in 2019, we've kind of come really far from that original document, and there's all kinds of laws that are infringing upon our natural rights. For example, I live in Oregon, and by state it's legal to sleep in your vehicle, so there's a lot of people who have decided to become more sustainable and live off-grid, and they're building tiny homes and eco-villages and natural builds, and a lot of these things are difficult because the laws say that we can't. The laws want us to be paying high rent costs, being attached to the grid, coming and relying on the supermarket for our food. So there's a lot of unjust laws like that. In Ashland, Oregon right now, it's illegal to sleep in your own vehicle, your own private property. A vehicle could be parked legally on the street, and the difference between you going to jail or having a citation, basically having extortion happen to you, is whether or not you're sleeping in that vehicle, as well as preparing food in public. That's illegal. You can't cook. I've baked bread in a solar oven there and other sustainable ways of cooking, and those are outlawed. A performer here last night, Cedar Branches, he has a sticker that says, "Not all criminals are outlaws," and I think that's really important for us to remember. And Thomas Jefferson said that if a law is unjust, not only is it our right to disobey it, it's our obligation, because if we don't stand up for our freedom and for our rights and remember to take these actions, then they'll be taken away from us. And they've been slipping away over the years. And it's really important time of awakening right now that we recognize how far we've come into an oppressed, slave-like state, all of us. It used to be that a man could work a 40-hour-a-week job or less, and he could support his entire family, his wife and children. And now we have women working, which is wonderful because we have equality in women's rights. But it's strange to think that we're putting in twice as much productivity and people can't afford to pay their rent. So that's another thing that's pushing people into living in their vehicles in places like Ashland, Oregon. It's very high rent cost. So in nature, what you put in, you get back. If you put in more work, you're going to get a bigger yield. And that's not how it works in this system. This system is broken. And so we need to remember that we have the power and take back our power. We are independent. We have the power of choice and to use our own mind and our own conscience and remember what is true freedom and what we have the right to do, which is anything that's peaceful. We have the right to be peaceful beings, and it's a violation of our natural rights for anyone to stop us from doing those things. So I'm going to play a song for you that's basically about that, and I have Josiah playing with me on Native American flutes. We first played together in Fort Wayne, Indiana on the United We Stand tour, and here's our second stop, the United We Stand tour at Knead Peace in Belton, Texas. Thank you all for coming out.
Woo! Yeah.
This sounds a little bit loud. Oh well. I declare my independence, a small part of the all, a sovereign individual, answer true to my heart's calls. This guitar is too loud. I feel like it's drowning out my voice. Can we? Thank you.
Take a little less time.
Yeah. How do I? Is there a way I can adjust it here?
It's the first knob is master volume on the guitar. The first one closest to the neck. But I just
The first one, this.
yeah, that's master volume for you.
Okay. Alright, start again.
Start it over.
Okay, yeah, that's better. I think this is good with voice. We're good. I turned the guitar down. It's better. Okay, alright.
Try that again.
I declare my independence as a small part of the all, a sovereign individual, answering true to my heart's calls. Let's break our chains, step out of our cages, rise above the old ways that enslave us. Break our chains, step out of our cages, rise above the old ways that enslaved us. I declare my interbeing. We are one with separate choices. Let's coexist in harmony, speaking truth and raise our voices. Let's break our chains, step out of our cages, rise above the old ways that enslaved us. Break our chains, step out of our cages, rise above the old ways that enslaved us. Freedom calls. Freedom is calling me. Yeah, I think my voice. Yeah, there it is. It's back. Okay. All right. I feel like I gotta get some high energy out of me. Close it with the soothing one. Yeah. So this next song has some pretty radical concepts in it about freedom that I want to talk to you about first so that you can fully appreciate what it means. This song is about getting back in harmony with nature. Again, recognizing our natural rights and recognizing everything around us. If we can get in touch with our heart and our compassion and tune into observation, then we can listen for a response, for consent from nature. Instead of just going around with this idea that like we want to be a certain way and impose ourselves on the world, if we can touch into the earth, to ground, and touch into our heart, we can then observe and get feedback from the people around us, from the plants around us, from the animals around us, and just kind of like ask permission, and we'll get a feeling if we really tune in whether or not we're getting consent from the things in our environment, like with plants when we're picking plants, or how we're gardening, if we're interacting with the environment like agriculture does today. It's very unsustainable, and we get so much soil erosion every single year. That's losing our ability to grow plants in our own land, because the nutrients are being depleted out of the soil, and the plants can't grow unless they have nutrients to eat out of the soil. So some really important ways that we can get back in touch with nature is by building soil. That's one of the most important things we can do to change the world, and it's so easy. Giving back to nature is extremely important. And we consume a lot, but how much do we give back? Everything that we consume, we can give something back. Every time we peel an orange, that orange peel can go back into the earth and decompose and provide nutrients for life to grow again. And even our human waste, our urine, our feces, it's all got nutrients for the earth. When we pee, it's giving nitrogen to the greenery so that it can grow again. And rather than pooping in clean drinking water, we could be composting our own human manure and creating nutrients for the soil to grow. Yeah. Right now, the food that is available here that we're eating, it's come from a faraway land. It's been imported here with fossil fuels, and we have the ability to grow food right here on this land. I just went on a plant walk earlier, walked around this entire property and learned so much about the Texas native plants. And they're all over, and there's so many delicious, nutritious plants right here in front of our eyes that we've forgotten about. And they're growing here for a reason. They want to help us. They're medicine. They're one of the best things we can be putting in our body. So if you want to learn about that plant walk, if you missed it, I made a video about it, and you can check it out on my YouTube channel, Tarah Green, or find my website, omensofalchemy.com. So getting back in harmony with nature is one way that we can change the world and take back our freedom and independence, because if we can eat the food right around us, we can't be controlled. If we have nutrients and can support ourselves and be self-sustaining, then we're a lot stronger. And if we're strong as individuals, then we're stronger as a community, and we're stronger as a group. If each of us can remember to take care of our own needs and not always think that the supermarket's going to provide for us, or relying on someone else like our partner or whatever that is, even about every little thing like bringing your own water bottle so that you can stay hydrated, and being mindful of the source of that, where it comes from. Where did your water come from? What's in it? Water has this life, and it's traveled throughout the entire world, and all the waters are connected. They've been in the clouds and the skies and the rivers and the streams. They're sustaining all the plants. They're sustaining us. So this song also talks about consent. Again, talking about it with nature and observing and listening for feedback, like, is this doing harm? Because we want to do more good than harm with all of our actions. That's the only way we can be regenerative and sustainable. So there's a concept in my song called volunteerism. Who's heard of volunteerism? Yeah, one person, two people. So volunteerism is basically a social philosophy based on consent, or a political philosophy that basically says live and let live, that we have the right to do anything that isn't causing harm to others. And that includes taking care of ourselves, defending ourselves. Self-defense is a really important thing to remember. We need to be personally responsible for ourselves. And if we don't want harm to happen in the world, we got to recognize we're important enough not to let harm happen to ourselves. So volunteerism is this idea that good ideas don't require force, and that if something is a good idea, people will willingly want to do it and consent to do it. And then there's this concept called agorism in my song, which is about the free market, and it's basically like voluntarism applied to how we interact and exchange. So that includes bartering, trading, using alternative currencies rather than using the corrupt Federal Reserve and the banks that are lending our money out without our consent and paying for wars and basically like just don't have any real value. But things of real value, the things that we grow from the earth that we need to survive, the plants, precious metals, all of that, like agorism is about bringing the power back to the people so that we're not controlled by these large corporations, and we're getting back in touch with our local environment and interacting with people and remembering to be open and aware of consent. And it's taking the power back to the people, and you really do vote with your dollar in all of your actions, so don't use dollars, use something else. And it goes for communication too. Communication is really important. Being mindful of how we speak to each other so that we're not using threat or coercion, because it's a very subtle form of using violence by convincing people, playing on their natural threat responses to get them to do things. So anything else I forgot to mention in my song? So permaculture is another thing that's really important in this song. It comes from the words permanent and agriculture, which eventually evolved into permanent culture. And permanence is sustainable, as opposed to agriculture that has come today where we're just like, we're not thinking about the future, we're not thinking about the next 7 generations. Permaculture brings us back to observing nature and interacting with the land in a way that's regenerative and sustainable. So, that's what this song is about, and I hope you all enjoy it.